So then guys, this is my arcade 1-up cabinet. It's been fully modded. It did start out life as a Street Fighter 2 cabinet, and here's a picture of what it looked like originally. Now, I've done quite a lot to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it on, I'm going to show you it booting up, and I'm going to talk you through what I've done to mod it into what you see now and what you will see when I switch it on. So we'll get it booted up. So once this has finished loading up, I'll show you exactly what I've done to it, but we'll start from the bottom. So what we've got from bottom to top is I've made my own riser, because they were looking a bit expensive here in the UK. So I made my own out of MDF. Sorry, not MDF. I've made my own out of chipboard. And in there I've just got some sticky back black plastic, some red insulation tape and some arcade panel stickers on there. And that just fetches it up to the ground because I'm a 6'1" bloke. I'm a bit tall and I can't be stooping down to these because they're a bit small. Going from the top, I've just got some LED strip lights in there as well that change colour. They're on a cycle just to give it a bit of oomph. I've put the red backing tape on all the way around to make it pop out a bit more, because I do like the red, and the Street Fighter 2 cabinets were. The Street Fighter 2 cabinets do look good with a bit of red on there as well. We've got some cup holders, because obviously we need somewhere to keep our beverages. On here we've got some... Sorry, on this panel here now, I'll put a link to the company I bought this from. It got shipped from America. It took a couple of weeks to come because I'm not confident with drilling holes or getting it straight or anything like that. It's very slapdash when I do anything. So on here, I ordered the panel. In here we have got two USB hubs which go directly into one into the Pi Zero, which is up top, and the other into the Pi 3B Plus, I think it is what you call it, in there. So you don't have to take the back off when you want to do any USB work on there. You just plug it straight in. We've got the two select buttons, which is what you use to put coins in. It also acts as a select button. And we've got two speakers mounted behind here, so we've got stereo sound in there as well. So that's the differences on that panel. So, going on to the main front panel now, I have put new LED buttons in there as well, and new joysticks with back tops on there as well to match the colours on there. I've gone for the 4 of the buttons are blue and 2 of them are red, because the majority of the systems I've got on here, so the arcade, the NES and other consoles as well, they use the B and A buttons, so I've just highlighted them in different colours in there just so the player can see which one's a B and A. I've also made and printed out a sticker to go on there so it shows and highlights the different button combinations that they've got on there. We've got two player 1 and player 2 start buttons on there as well for the start, and I've also put in the automatic off switch. So I've plugged in the off switch, the on and off switch, the power switch, to the Raspberry Pi, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube that can show you how to do that as well. So if I flick it off, you'll see it turns the Raspberry Pi off, so you don't need to turn it off yourself. It doesn't do the top one, however, but it does do that one, and it's kind of what I wanted at the moment. It's kind of what I need at the moment. So if the kids are in, they can just turn it off and switch it back on again. So we'll turn it back on again and let it boot back up. So now that's booted back up, we'll carry on up. I haven't changed the screen or the bezel or anything like that. That is standard and as comes out the box. Up the top here, we've put a dolphin bar in there, so it enables me to do the Wii light gun games, which I'll probably show you a little bit of a demonstration of later on, if I remember. And we've got the light gun down here. So in here, I'll just take it out and show you. In here we have got I bought a light gun case off eBay, a couple of quid, and then you've got the Wii remote in here. Now, if you're going to do this, it has to be an official Wii remote. You can't use a third party. Doesn't like it, doesn't work. It took me ages to figure that out, and that connects up to the Wii. To the dolphin bar up there, and then now you can play light gun games. And I've got on here, I'll show you, I've got a light gun section on there where all the light gun games are in there as well, so you can play light gun games in there if you really want to. Then at the top I've got my pride and joy. This is the dynamic LED that I've built and put together. All the parts I've ordered from various places. The screen itself come from China. It took about 3 or 4 weeks to come. It was a long wait for that, just before this recent crisis happened. And I've built a frame and mounted it in there. Now I'm going to link you to a YouTube video that gave me all the inspiration that I needed to do that with, gave me all the files, showed me exactly how to do it, and I would not have been able to do it without Sean, the guy that runs that YouTube channel, so thank you very much for that. And I spent hours getting this correct and getting it right, and I'll show you a quick demonstration about what that does there. So that's from top to bottom of the arcade that I actually did. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some of the features that I've built into the image that I downloaded. I'm going to go into the image that I downloaded shortly in the next section when I move on to the laptop. But I'm going to go through a few of the different sections I've added on there, show you a little bit about the marquees and how that works, and then I'm going to show you a few of the other little bits and bobs that I've put in here to make life easy. So I've come this side so you can get a little bit of a better look at the screen. I'm hoping that's being picked up okay on the camera. You can see the LED screen that plays a video that just plays when there's nothing been selected, just it's a bit of an attract mode to going on. On the screen on here, we've got all the games in here. So we've got the favourites, the last played. I've got Amiga emulators on here, Amstrad, Apple II, Berry's Arcade, Atari 2600, Atari 7800, Lynx, Commodore, Daphne, Famicom Disk System, Game & Watch, Game Gear, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Intellivision System, Master System, Mega Drive, MSX, N64, which doesn't play very well on the Raspberry Pi 3. The 4 has just been announced, and I've seen some videos that show the Raspberry Pi 4 playing Nintendo 64 stuff, so watch this space. Still trying to get Nintendo DS system stuff to work, so again, that's another work in progress. We've got Neo Geo arcade games, we've got NES, MS-DOS games on here as well, PC Engine, we've got various ports, we've got PSP games, PlayStation 1, we've got the RetroPie menu, Sega 32X, Sega CD, Super Nintendo, TurboGrafx 16, Vectrex, Video Pack, Virtual Boy, the Sharp 6800 or 68,000, ZX Spectrum, and I've got a few of my own that I've put in here as well. So this is where I've started building my own folders. I've got an Arcade 1-Up folder, which basically got all the games that's been announced or have been released for the Arcade 1-Up systems. So we've got things like the Golden Tee cabinets in here. So I've got them with the videos that come up. We've got the Mortal Kombat games in here as well, that goes with the Mortal Kombat cabinets that there is available. We've got things like Pac-and-Pal, Pac-Land, Return to the Jedi, etc, etc. And then we've got the original Street Fighter 2s and Hyper Fighting in there as well, if I ever wanted to play them. My daughter as well, so the daughter plays this game, so I've built her an image and video on there as well, so she puts in the games that she likes to play, and we add a bit more and more in there. She gets further and further down the line with the games that she likes. Obviously an Earthworm Jim fan, the girl's got taste. And then I've got my light gun games in there as well. So in a minute I'm going to load up a light gun game, and I'm going to go and stand behind the camera and I'm going to show you a light gun game in action so you can see what that looks like on here as well. Then I've got my wrestling games, because I do like my wrestling games. I'm a big fan of wrestling, so all the wrestling games I've got, I need 73 wrestling games, which I've built the background for as well. And then we've got all games, so I've got 15,446 games on this system. Never played them all, but they're all on there, going from Dash 88 games from the arcade all the way down to ZZZZ on the Commodore 64, which is a text adventure by the look of it. And then when you load up the games, so let's go into the last played I've got. So WrestleFest, I'll just turn my amplifier down. My amplifier's on the top of it. Turn the amplifier down. So if you load up WrestleFest, I've got my own custom splash screen that comes up, telling you the buttons that you use for WrestleFest. So we use B and A button for them ones. That's the layout for this, which mirrors that on there. And we've got my dynamic marquee that shows up on there as well. I will show you in a minute how I put all them on the Raspberry Pi, and I'll show you how I have to go about doing it. But every game, every arcade game's got their own marquee up there, so that changes with the games that comes on. And obviously you put the credit in. Start the game. Hulk Hogan. It's normally Mr. Perfect, but I'll choose Hulk Hogan for this. And the game plays as normal, so we'll come out with that. Then when it goes up, that other image will show up on there as well, and then the game. So if we're going to things like the next one, if we're going to Jimmy Connor's Pro Tennis, I'll show you what else I found. I managed to find a load of custom packs that had marquees on there. So if you load up Super Nintendo games, for example, as well as the pictures and the buttons on there, it shows you box art with the system on there as well, which I think is a nice touch. If you don't know what you're playing, it's just something different to have on there rather than the bog standard picture. I have got generic ones as well. So if the game hasn't got a marquee to match it, what we've got, I'll load up tennis for you. So tennis on the NES hasn't got an image attached to it. I've got a default image for NES games, which shows you what the system is and what the buttons are. Because the worst thing when you play emulators is you don't know what the buttons are. What button do you press? What do you do? Well, this shows you. You've got the B button and the A button, and then two buttons on there like that. So we'll come out with it. It's especially handy that for the Famicom disk systems, and I'll try and find one now, because you've got ones where you need to change the disc, flip it over from side A to side B, and they're actually mapped to one of the buttons. So if we go into the Famicom disk system, so for example on here, I found the Famicom disk system. If I load up Roger Rabbit in this one and here, and what you'll see is yes, it's got the marquee up here, but on here, disk swap and eject disk. So you know that these two buttons are to swap the disk or eject the disk if it asks, because some of the games do need that to be able to do. So if I go back into other systems now, so if I go into Mega CD, Sega CD. Let's find Sega CD. So if I go into the Sega CD games on here as well, let's load up Rage in the Cage. So what you'll see on this one on Rage in the Cage, which is slightly different, is that you've got the Sega CD logo up here, and in the top here it shows you what buttons A, B, C, X, Y and Z. So they're permanently on the top there, so when you need to look for them, it's like, oh, what buttons do I do? There you go. Another thing that I am working on is to get this marquee here to show move sets. So if you're playing the likes of Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter 2, for example, the moves are up here. So I'll show you what we've got here so far. If I go into Mortal Kombat, if I go into the Mortal Kombat ROM on here for the arcade, what it will show you is, as well as giving you some buttons here, it gives you here the moves for each character. So you, as long as you know what the buttons are mapped at, you'll know how to do the fatalities and the moves, the special moves. And I'm working on doing that for all my fighting games. But like I say, there's thousands and thousands of games here, so that will take me some time. But that is what I'm working on at the moment on that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up a light gun game. I'm going to go and stand behind the camera so you can see what a light gun game looks like. So here we go. I'm stood behind the arcade one-up machine now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the arcade version of Operation Wolf. Hope you can see it there. I have got the NES version on there as well, which does play fine, but I'm going to show you the arcade version of it. So if I load that up, I'm going to load that up. Again, the marquee loads up there, and I'm behind here with the gun, with the light gun. I hope you can see that on there. The target is moving. Let's put a couple of coins in. Put some coins in. So here we go, Operation Wolf. Hope you can see that. So here we go. I'm going to be doing a review on Operation Wolf shortly. So a couple of shoots on that, but this is what I'm going to be using. Fire them, there we go. So what we're going to do now you've seen the outside and you've seen the aesthetics of it all, I'm going to load up the, I'm going to hook it up to my computer. I'm going to go back to the PC now and show you a few of the programs that I use on the PC and how I get games onto the actual system. Then once we've done that, I'm going to open up the back of the actual arcade, show you what I did, how I did it, and hopefully you can see how easy it is to do. So coming over onto my computer then, I've just got a few things that I want to show you on here in regards to the software, how to get files onto your Raspberry Pi, how to get files onto the marquee that I've got as well. So I'm going to show you how I did that on here. Nothing earth-shattering, just a bit of an insight as to what you do. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to get the things onto the main Raspberry Pi that we've got. First of all, I'm just going to fetch over a folder. And in here, to get this, literally all you do, as long as you're on the network, type in RetroPie, and it'll load this screen up. You put your BIOS files into this one here. And it is just a case of dragging and dropping where you need. That goes in there. Your configs can go in there as well. You don't need to mess around too much with them. Your splash screens are for your main screens. That's where your videos, you put your videos. That goes in there. And you've also got your ROMs as well. Now this is all the different systems that are set up so far in here. And if you want to load one up, so if I go to Super Nintendo, find SNES, you drag and drop all your Super Nintendo ROMs in there. Then they automatically appear on your cabinet, on your RetroPie, emulation station, and that automatically picks it up. So it is just a case of dragging and dropping, and if they're relative files and if they work fantastic, it automatically picks it up. So there's your ROMs and how you get them on there. To get your marquee files on there, use something a little bit different. Use a program called WinSCP. And this works exactly the same, except it FTPs into it rather than goes through the file system. It all sounds complicated, but once you've done it a few times, it's fine. You dial into the IP address of the Pi that you've got on your system. And remember, this is a static IP because it needs to work that way for the marquee to work. And in your marquees here, again, I've got all the marquees loaded in here. So if I go to my arcade folder, in there, here is all the files that I've got for all the relative games that I've got in there, the ROM. So if I find, let's find WrestleFest one, because I know that one looks quite good. WrestleFest. It is that one there. So if I drag that onto this desktop here, and you have to do this to open it up. It doesn't let you open it up in this. And again, it's just a case of dragging and dropping into where you need to be. So you'll see that it looks a bit stretched. Now that's just because of the resolution that I've set up on that screen. The link below for how to set up a dynamic arcade marquee, there is another link that shows you how to do it, how to get it set up properly, so you don't need to do the screen like this. But that was released after I'd done all mine and set them all up, so I didn't want to go around changing anything. But they're the files. It's just a case of upload the .png files. You've got to rename the ROMs rename the files exactly the same as the ROMs. Upload it into that marquee file on your Raspberry Pi Zero, and it'll automatically load it up. So that's how you do the marquee stuff. And that's pretty much all I want to show you on the computer. The only other thing I want to show you is where I got the initial, the absolute first image that I used, and that was from Arcade Punks, a website called Arcade Punks, and it is the Arcade 1-Up Ready RetroPie image, Wolfenose arcade only 32GB clean settings ones. If you search for that, but again, I'm going to put this link into the comments underneath. This is the one that I downloaded. Now this is only 32GB, and you've only got arcade only games on there, so I've had to go in and add all the rest of the stuff in there. And all the rest of the splash screens and everything like that. Now, it was a labour of love. It took me months to get it right. But this is the basics of how you go around getting it. If you had downloaded this file, wrote the image onto an SD card, put that in there and thought, this is fantastic, but I want more, I want more, I want more. Ended up getting a 128GB card and loading that up full of loads of different emulators, putting my own emulators on there, put my own splash screen on there, putting on the dynamic marquee that you've seen. Yeah, and that's the software side of what I've done so far and how I go about updating it. There's loads more you could do, but if you go and search on YouTube or search on Google, go on to the Arcade 1-Up modding Facebook page, and again, I'll put the link to that in the description so you can have a look at it if you really want to. So that's it from the computer. We're going to go back now and open up the arcade machine. I'm going to show you the inside of it and show you what it looks like in there. So here we are around the back of the Arcade 1-Up cabinet then. Now, this is a warning for you all. You're going to get triggered when I open this, because the cable management in here isn't fantastic, because I keep changing things, I keep moving things around. So just be warned, when it opens up it is a little bit like spaghetti junction in there. So we're going to crack the back open on this and I'm going to show you what it looks like round the back of the cabinet. Here we go. Right then. So I'll zoom in a bit there so you can see exactly what we've got in this. So in the back of this cabinet, what we've got, and I'll point out all the major bits and talk to you how I did things in here. I'll switch it on because we've got the LED light in there as well that gives it a little bit more light. So I'll show you a video up the top of this in a minute. I'll take the video camera in, I'll show you exactly what I've got up the top. But up the top, we have got the video controller board that the Raspberry Pi Zero, which is here, is attached into. And that controls the LED screen that we've got, the dynamic marquee. And that controls the dynamic marquee that we've got up the top, does the Pi Zero. So that's connected to the HDMI port up through into the top there. And I'll show you that over the screen now as we're talking. Coming down the screen, we've got the original, we've got the controller board for that Pi screen as well. So that's just sitting there. We've got the original LED screen in here, which is connected to a controller board, which is where the Pi HDMI input is inputted in there as well. As we go further down further down the cabinet, you will see we've got this ribbon cable here. Now I didn't point this out to you earlier on, but this ribbon cable attaches the Pi directly into the socket for the SD card. Now the SD card in there, if you're messing around with images and different files and you want to try things, you don't want to be taking the back off every 10 minutes and trying things. So that runs directly to the front, and it attaches to this SD extender that I'm showing you on screen. Now that SD extender means you can turn the Pi off, you can plug a new SD card back in and switch it back on again and see a different image if you really want to. It's a really handy thing that we've got in there. And underneath the bottom, underneath there, you won't be able to see it on here, but I'll flash it up on screen now. Underneath there, we've got the controller boards, the USB controller boards for the control panel, and that is like spaghetti junction as well under there. So we're not going to take that off because that is just a bane in my life to try and get that right. And then I've got a power cord. So we've got one power cord here. So we've got one power cord which connects down here, which everything plugs into. So it's just one switch out into the Raspberry Pi, into the arcade machine. Sorry. So there's a quick switch on if you want to turn it all off and back on again if you need to. The wires that you see coming up here, these are to the amplifier. Again, I'll show you them on screen now. This is the amplifier that we've got. It's a cheap amplifier, but it does the trick and it works fantastic. So that is my Arcade 1-Up machine, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the tour, and I hope I've given you a few ideas what you can and what you can do with it. There's loads more that you can do. There's links underneath in the description section that'll tell you exactly a few other bits that you could do as well. Or there's links in the description where I've got my inspiration from or where I've got ideas from. I am more than happy to answer any questions that you've got. So if you want to drop me some comments, want to drop me some ideas or some questions on Twitter, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. Like I say, I will get grief over what the inside of my cabinet looks like, but I don't care. It's my cabinet. I'll do with it as I will. And I'm sure you guys do with it as you will as well. It will get tidied up once I'm at a point where I'm happy with it, but I don't see that happening anytime soon because I keep tweaking things, keep changing things. So there you go. Any questions, drop me a line. Thank you very much for watching this long-winded video, and I'll see you next time on Noob Game Reviews.